Hello everyone, Catweazle here, welcome to the channel and welcome to our new playthrough, which is Dawn of the Zeds 3rd edition by Victory Point Games. Cool. Right, well, I've not played Dawn of the Zeds before. I haven't played the 1st, 2nd or 3rd edition. So what I'm going to do for a change is I'm going to follow the instructions, which says start with the base game. So that's what we're going to do. Now, that means, obviously, we're going to start with the bare minimum of concepts, but hopefully I'll be doing a few playthroughs, so after the basic game, we'll move on to the next one, and we will introduce new concepts then as we find them. But before I go into the base game properly, let's just have a general overview. So, we can see the board here, and this is Farmingdale, which is a small town, and it's in trouble. Because, for whatever reason, whether it's radioactive meteors, something in the water, a virus, whatever the hell's happened, it's beset by zombies. Yep, as we join the game, zombies are marching on the town of Farmingdale. Now this is what I believe Victory Point Games call a state of siege game. And, just like it says on the tin, the city is under siege. So what we've got to do is hold out, because, make no bones about it, we will not be able to sort of destroy all the zombies and go, hurrah, we've won. There are just too many of them. What we've got to do is we've got to hold out. So we have a deck of cards, we go through the deck of cards, if we get to the end, we have held out. And then the army or the National Guard or whatever comes to rescue us. Isn't that groovy? Now, how do we win? Well, we win by getting to the last card without any zombies getting into that town centre. And that is just where all these guys are. I will use the drinking straw of pointing power. So just in here where it says town centre. Here, for example, is fine. Here is fine. You can have zombies all the way up to these sort of like little places around the town centre. But as soon as they get in here, the game is over. There is no last fight. The first zombie gets in there, game over, man. So, where are the zombies coming from? There are 4 ways into Farmingdale. They're all various tracks and highways. So, we'll start at the top left-hand corner. This is the forest track. So, that's the forest track. It comes all the way down here and comes in from the north. To the east here we have the mountain track, and again this comes up here, round here, and comes in on the eastern side. We have the highway track, which starts here in the southeast and comes in this way, and in the southwest we have the suburbs track, which comes in this way. Now each one of these tracks, it sort of takes 9, there's 9 stages to get into the town centre. So highway track, for example, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. On that 9th movement of a zombie unit into the town centre, it's good night Vienna, or rather good night Farmingdale. So we've got to stop that happening. In order to do that, we've obviously got our civilians and heroic civilians and our heroes that are going to do that. Now, all these tracks have got various things on them. You've got the town centre, you've got obviously the general hospital, you've got the laboratory, you've got some of the outskirts of the actual town, but each track has got various things on it. For example, there are little villages, little outlying villages like East Irek and Ingeberg here, for example, and there are also other sort of areas that are useful for the town, like the university. Obviously there's a campus outside of town, there's the nuclear plant, there is a mine and a farm, that sort of thing. So those are various areas that have civilians in them, and here are the civilians. Yeah, I'll talk about more about those in a bit. The Zeds, they're here, they start right in the corners, and they will move towards us, and we've got to kill them or stop them getting to the centre. So that's a brief overview of what we're trying to do. So let's now go on to the actual basic game itself. Now, in order to set it up, all you use are the blue cards. So I'm just going to borrow Mr. Johnson here. And as you can see, up in the corner there, there is a blue strip. And there's also a single line cut in the black border. So these are the blue cards, and this means these are first level. These are your basic levels. Yeah, Mr. Johnson is a basic level hero. So that's him. Here's another basic level hero. As you can see, Deputy Schmidt, exactly the same. So all you do is you take all the blue cards out of all the decks. So we've got a fate deck here that we'll use. These have all got the blue on them. Yeah. So you know these are all the blue cards. Sometimes you have to take out an extra card. For example, out of this fate deck, I had to take out infected vermin. But that is all in the rule book, so that's quite easy to follow. Again, we have event cards. I'll talk about these a bit more in a bit. But again, blue. Yeah, so you know which ones to pick out. So there we go. Obviously, the more advanced you get in the game, the more colours you will add. Just to show you, next up in the game is green. So you've got the two green stripes going through the border and a green stripe here. So if you were playing the next level up, you would add all these fate cards in, for example. Additionally to those fate cards, you have additional green event cards. And it also unlocks extra heroes, for example. So, as I say, if I play base game, then go on to the next advanced level, which I think is Outbreak, we'll get a few more concepts that come in with that. We will use more things on the board. For example, at the moment, in the base level, all we use is the action track, which is here, with the little clapper board, and ammunition. So ammunition and the action track. Zeds actions, those are for games versus games. So we won't be using that. Supplies, that's used in a higher level, and infection is used in a higher level game. So we're just going to use ammo and the actions. So just less to remember while you learn the game. Righto, other things we won't be using the general hospital, and we won't be using the lab, because they're to do with like the infections and research and all that sort of kind of stuff, being able to heal people, that sort of stuff. You don't use all that in the base game. So I'll go through that at such time as I do a higher level game. Righto, so that's that. We use the blue cards, and what we'll learn in the basic game is how the Zeds move and fight, and how the units move, shoot and forage. So that's pretty cool. What we'll look at now is, let's have a look at the event cards. So we'll have a look at one. Now, these are split up into 4 stages. See how it's got 4 stars here? So this is a first stage card. Yeah. We know that because it's got 1 star. Now, there are 5 little tabs here. In the base game, you don't use the first 3. So there's 4R there, there's an infection one, and there is an eat one. So as you can see, you know, that's probably to do with supplies, that's probably to do with infection, that's actually to do with refugees and rangers and all sorts of other stuff. But they're later on, so we ignore these 3. However, we do have the Zeds sort of movement and actions and what they do, and we have our actions. So there, where it's got Act 1, it's not Act 1, it's Action 1. So that would give us 1 action, and we could move that up. Yeah. So as you can see, on the base game, we're only using these 2. Yeah. Later versions of the game that are more advanced, they will still use the blue cards, hence that's why they still have these symbols on. So say you were playing a yellow game, which is sort of the 3rd level of the game, if you like, you'd have blue cards, you'd have green cards, and you'd have yellow cards. So all these sort of things would then start coming in and they would kick in. Hence, they are on the blue cards, yeah, because they can be used at a higher level game. Righto, so that's the events. We will pick out our event deck shortly. Let's have a look at the fate cards. Here's fate cards again, blue, and an event or something will say pull a fate card. Yes, so this is a fate card and we will follow what is on this card. Can be good, can be bad, so we'll see. So you get a little fate deck. It's not very big, but it doesn't have to be. Not every event has a fate card draw, so you get a few here. Again, as I've mentioned, you will get green, yellow, orange and red versions of these, so pretty funky. So that is the fate deck. I must stand that up there. Right, so we've got that. How do we set everything up? Well, there is a nice helpful called the Setup and the Epilogue book. So it just tells you what everything is here. It will tell you a few details about which sort of game you're setting up, and you can go through and you can have a look. Very, very good rule books. There's about 5 of them. They're all well set out. They're packed full of examples. It's excellent. If Nemo's War and what's the other one? Darkest Night Special Edition are like this, we're in for a treat. Anyway, setup. Here's the setup for the base game. As you can see, you get a nice full colour picture of the actual board and details of where to put everything. Now, what we've got, counters we've got on the map are defiant markers. Defiant markers go with civilians. Civilians are really defiant until the first zombie walks into their village. Then they're not so defiant anymore, and who can blame them? We've got 4 heroes that we start with, you'll see that in a second. 6 actual civilian units, which we've picked. I've already picked them out. We get a heroic civilian. Again, the heroic civilians are colour-coded as well. And you get 4 regular Zeds, which you can see were already on the board. We'll be using things like hit markers, EKG markers, civilian enhancements, Z enhancements, pretty much what they sound like. You know, they'll make you tougher or whatever, more difficult to kill. There's a goodies and no entry marker, and there's some memory markers. There's also some information cards, which I've got off to one side. It's just like little reference cards, which are very useful. Now, we've set it up as it is on here. So when I take this away, that's everything that I've done on here. The jail we're not using the super weapon either. So what I've used the jail for is just to put some of the tokens in. Yeah, so I've put those in there. So that's why they're there. Just easy for me to get, that's all. You don't have to put them in there. I've just found it useful. And if you're using a scenario where you have to use the jail, then obviously don't put them in there, because you'll want to put whoever you're putting in jail in there. Anyway, I digress. Back here. So, deck construction table. So we're going to make the event deck. So we're using the top one here, which is standard co-op or short solo game. So what we have to do, we've got all the blue cards set up, and you'll see I've separated the piles. So we've got first stage, that was 1 star, second stage, third stage, fourth stage, and an end card. Cool. So let's go about picking these out. So the first stage, we need 2 event cards. So just give them a quick shuffle, and then we'll pick that one and that one. So that is our first stage. This we can discard. So that's our first stage. The second stage, we need, out of this particular deck, we need 5. So a few more here. So we need 5 of these. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. That's our second. But we're not finished with the second yet. We'll get rid of this. Now, this card is the sort of a special. Yeah. Some event cards are worse than others. This one is particularly, these are particularly bad, and we need to put these in here. Yeah. It needs to come in the second stage. So we'll put it in with these and then we will mix them all up. Yeah, so we don't know when the bad card is going to arrive. We just know that it is in there somewhere. Third stage, again, normal ones, and we've got a bad one. So the normal ones, we need 3 of these cards out of 4. So let's mix them up. And we'll pick the top 3. 1, 2, 3. Whip. 1, 2, 3. And the bad card. So we'll put that there. Get rid of this event. And we will mix these up. And then we've got to do the 4th stage. The 4th stage is 2 cards out of 3. So again, mix these up. And we'll take the top 2. Discard that one. And there's only one really bad card. This gets shuffled in with these, which is pretty difficult considering there's only 3 of them. My eyes are closed, so hopefully I won't drop them. Right, that'll do. So right, that's in there, and then we've got an end card. So there are only 2 end cards. I don't know what they are, so whatever. Again, that one will do. Right, so all the other ones can be discarded. So that's these. Put them up here out of the way. So first, second stage, third stage, 4th stage, and the end card. This is our event deck. So we will put this down here. So we've got an event deck and we've got the fate deck. We'll give the fate deck another shuffle and a cut. There we go. Right, so that is the event deck. Quite thin. One, we're doing the short game, so we didn't use every single card. If we weren't doing the short game, we'd have just used every single card and made sure in each stage that we'd have put the bad card in and shuffled it in. But we're doing the short game. Right, so, and as we advance, use more advanced levels, more advanced games, you would obviously be shuffling in cards from the yellow, orange and red decks. So it probably get a bit longer as we go on. But I haven't read those parts. They probably say only take so many cards out of each stage anyway, but whatever. You will get more difficult cards going in. So that is the event deck that has been done. Righto. So we've done that. What was the other things that we had to do? Well, we had to pick our Z units. Now, we picked these up out of this nice little bag. I've done this already because I am trying to cut it down, you know, all these like hour-long bloody introductory episodes. So I've picked these out and I've put them on a little stand, yeah, just so they stand up. Funnily enough, so they stand up. I've done it like this so they're at an angle and it's good for the angle of the video camera. So here they are. You don't have to do this, yeah. If you're just playing it normally, just stick them flat on the board, yeah. I'm just doing it for the ease of showing everybody what's going on. Plus the fact I don't recommend it. I've had to use like white tack, blue tack, so I've put a tiny bit on. I'll have to be extremely careful taking these off. So yeah, so I don't recommend it. to anybody. Yeah, you've got to be very careful putting them on and off again. So these go at the start of every track. So these are on the start of the suburbs track. There's one start of the forest track. There's another one down here on the highway track, and yet another one here on the mountain track. Let's have a look at what they look like. They are all regular Z units, and this is what regular Z units look like. There are two sides. This is sort of the uninjured side. As you can see, this is an 8 toughness unit. It's a tough unit. There are two little heart symbols and then a sort of turnover symbol. So if we get 3 hits on this, those 2 hearts will be gone, and the 3rd hit will flip it over. And this is the other side. So from 8 toughness, it now turns into a 5 toughness unit. Again, we've got 2 hearts and then an X, so we need to do another 3 damage to it to defeat it, and then it comes off the board. Top banana, we've destroyed it. Yeah, so that is what a counter looks like. They are the regular ones. There are super Zeds. So here's a super Z token. As you can see, it's a good deal bigger, and it's got special symbols on and stuff. We'll talk about them when we get to it, but basically these are meaner. Yeah, and there are some even meaner than this guy here who looked pretty bad. So these are super Zeds, but hopefully we won't get any of those. I'm not sure if you do get them in the basic game. If we do, we do. If we don't, we don't. But these are the tougher ones. So those are the Z units. Right. And conversely, we, as the defenders, we have our civilian units. Now, we had 7 and I had to pick 6. This is the one that got left out. A civilian unit is obviously people that are generally in the outlying villages. There is one civilian unit that is in the town centre, but mostly 5 of them are in the outlying villages such as Beauville, East Irek, Ingeberg, Lefty's Pass and St Thomas at the top there. So these have all got civilians. Now the civilians, if they are in an outlying town, so not in the town centre, are all what is called defiant. They will not move. Imagine, you know, it's like any emergency going on. People turn up, the government say, like, can you leave your houses, please? People go, no, no, I won't move. Until, of course, the first zombie comes shambling in town. So they're defiant until the zombies actually turn up. Yeah? They will not move until zombies turn up. As soon as the zombies turn up, then they make a swift recalculation and they are no longer defiant. They'll still fight. Doesn't mean they'll run away. It does mean, though, that they can retreat if they wish. As it is, they're not retreating until such time as those zombies turn up. So, again, exactly the same, but if you'll notice, these guys aren't quite as tough. Now, this isn't a bad one, actually. I'm a bit disappointed I didn't pick him out. This is a 3 toughness unit, but if you see here, where we've got the little heart symbol, there's only one. There's one heart symbol, so if he gets 2 hits, we flip them over. As soon as we flip them over, they're on the sort of injured side. And again, here it's only 2 hits and kaput. Also, they go from 3 toughness to 2 toughness. Yeah. Got to remember, these ones are alive. This is why they're not as tough as the Zeds. Yeah. The Zeds are a lot more difficult to destroy because they're already dead. Living people, however, can be eaten willy-nilly and they will die. So, well, it's not a general rule. As a rule, all your civilian units are not as tough as most zombie units. It's very rare you get one that's tougher. So, or, I mean, I'm not talking about toughness, I mean health. Yeah? Health, they're a lot easier to kill than the Zeds are to destroy. So you've got to bear that in mind. That is another reason why, if the game goes on long enough, you haven't got a chance. Yeah? So, you know, if we kept playing and playing and playing, that is why you need the cut-off of survive to the last card, and then the army turns up, the National Guard turns up. So, that is a civilian unit. In addition to your normal civilian units, there are some special civilian units. Now, mostly they have an icon on like this. I think these guys are the veterans, yeah? For the basic level, the blue level, you have, I think, the Saviours. It's like the Salvation Army. You've got the Veterans Association, and you've got the ones that we've got, which I'll go through in a minute. I had to pick them because they're amazing. But this is for the Veterans Association. So they get a special like icon, and they have special abilities. They have a card, yeah, of special abilities. So they can really help out. Again, toughness okay, but they are pretty weak. It doesn't take much to kill civilians, yes. So you flip them over, and again, not much to kill, yes. But this is an example of what is called a heroic civilian unit, and we get one of those in the base game. Groovy. And we've done the normal civilian unit, and we shall put the regular unit in here, mix it up. We'll be pulling out our extra zombies. All the regular zombie units are in there, so we don't know which ones we're going to pull out. So there we go. So all those units have been placed around here. As I mentioned, out of the units, 5 are in outlying sort of villages. The 6th one, which you can just see there, that is in the town centre. That's not Defiant, because we do want it to move. It's in the town centre. If we're going to move it, it's only going to move out towards the zombies. So that's probably why it isn't considered Defiant. Okay. As we're talking about civilians, we will talk about our heroic civilian unit, which is this, the Farmingdale Furies. The Farmingdale Furies are the local ladies' roller skating team, yeah, roller hockey team, I suppose you call it. What they're basically doing when all this unfolds is they've got iron bars, hockey sticks, and obviously their roller skates, and they can zoom around like knocking the hell out of zombies, which I just thought was well funny. So I had to pick them. You couldn't pick the Saviours, the Saviour Army, or whatever they're called. What they called them? Yeah, the Saviour Corps. Unfortunately, couldn't pick them. The other one was the Veterans, or it was the roller skating hockey team. So I picked the roller skating hockey team. They do get a special card, as I mentioned. As you can see, they're blue. Yeah. And it says here they are heroic civilians. On the front side of their token, they've got 6 toughness. You flip them over, they go down to 3 toughness. Yeah. They've got a movement of 4. And their abilities are, they are brawlers. This unit cannot make gunfire attacks. As I say, they've just got the hockey sticks and various like pipes and like sticks with nails in, all that sort of stuff. But they're tough. So each time they receive a hit, we will roll a die. 1 to 3, they suffer the hit normally, but 4 to 6, the hit is cancelled. They are tough ladies. Let's flick over and read about them. The Farmingdale Furies. Known throughout the region for their toughness, Angelina Fury and her roller derby team are fierce competitors in the rink, and just as vicious when confronting the undead. I love these girls. Angelina Fury should have been one of the heroes. These women, in their battling waitress costumes, know how to take their lumps, but are even better when it comes to dishing them out and serving them up hot. I love these ladies, and no one skates the way they can. Now Angelina is leading her crew off the rink to patrol the streets of Farmingdale, armed with baseball bats and steel rods, swooping down at speed like avenging furies, knocking the Zeds they encounter this way and that, and in their wake their faithful manager, Swifty Sullivan, remains busy promoting the team, reminding the locals that they owe their lives to the timely arrival of the ferocious Farmingdale Furies, and that next season's tickets are now on sale. I love these ladies, and they're on our side, thank God. So that is the Farmingdale Furies. So, those are the supporting cast and the Zeds. Now, we've got 5 actual heroes that we can pick from, and we pick one. What I've picked is Captain Piazza, mainly because she's military and she looks like she kicks ass. So she's only got a toughness of 3, and when she gets wounded she goes over to a toughness of 2, but she has got 5 movement, which is good. So let's read about her abilities. She's an elite sniper. Piazza can make long-range gunfire attacks. Her gunfire strength is based only on range. Yeah, so at 3 spaces she has 3 strength. At 2 spaces 4, which is excellent, and if it's adjacent it's only 2. She's got Overwatch. After she makes a gunfire attack, she may withdraw, move away from her target by 1 space. Any player unit in her space, except in a town centre, may be moved with her, including Defiant civilians. You will remove their Defiant marker. So remember, I said that they remain Defiant until an actual zombie turns up. If Captain Piazza's there and she withdraws, she can take them with her. Basically, she walks around with a gun and makes a move. So that's pretty cool. She's got ammunition crafting. Piazza can make her own ammo and then shoot. Spend 2 actions to make a gunfire attack using no ammo. This may be done multiple times per action phase, assuming you've got enough actions. And military, this is a versus game. We're not doing a versus game, so we'll ignore that. But that is Captain Piazza. That is the one that I've picked as my player character. So because I've picked her as my player character, I get the player action. Yeah, so this is an action that she can do. I just flick it over and that is her, but it has to be for her. Yeah, so player action is Captain Piazza. I also control 3 other heroes, but before I get to them, I haven't read about Captain Piazza, have I? So Captain Piazza, the only girl in a family of 7 brothers living in Window Rock, Arizona, where her father worked as a government liaison with the Navajo Tribal Authority. Her desert upbringing was Maria Piazza's invitation to learn to shoot, and shoot she did, winning a number of regional competitions and performing as a trick shot artist. When an army recruiter approached her as she cradled the latest trophy in her arms, she saw a chance to put her talents to use in service for her country, a dedication her father had instilled in her. Navajo friends had taught her how to move with stealth and quickness, and this talent too assured her a fast track in the military as a scout sniper, able to shoot and scoot, finding new positions quickly from which to make new shots. After seeing service in various parts of the world, she was reassigned as an instructor at West Point. This suited her as it gave her time to pursue her other great interest, crafting beautiful jewellery in the Navajo way. She felt she had found her niche in life as an artist and teacher until one day orders arrived detaching her for special duty at a government lab in a place called Farmingdale. Dun, dun, dun. She had no idea what the duty might be, and she hated to leave the point, but in the army, orders are orders. Indeed they are, Maria. So that's Captain Piazza, who is my player. As I mentioned, we get 3 other players out of 4, so there are 5 altogether. I've picked her out of the 5, and then I've picked 3 others out of the remaining 4, but I did it randomly off camera, and we got Sheriff Hunt, and he's law enforcement. He's got a toughness of 5. When he gets wounded he goes down to 3. He's a movement of 4. His abilities are leadership. Once per action phase, he may spend his leadership action marker to give 1 civilians or refugees unit in a space on or next to him 1 free action. Place the leadership marker on this card to keep track of when you have used this ability. This is the leadership marker. So it's essentially an extra action that he brings with him once per action phase. So that'll be useful. And long range. He can make a gunfire attack from 2 spaces away, but with a shift penalty. I'll go through the shift penalties and bonuses. That is a penalty, so it's a left shift. A bonus is a right shift, but we'll go through that when we get to combat. He's tough. Each time he receives a hit, roll a die. Similar to the Farmingdale Furies, a 1 to 3, he takes a hit normally. A 4 to a 6, that hit is cancelled. He's also got martial arts. In every hand-to-hand combat, he is allowed 1 reroll, and that result is final. So make sure you pick a bad one. And law enforcement, that's for the versus game, so we won't look at that. Let's read the back of his card. Sheriff Brett Hunt is the hometown boy who went out to see the world and returned a hero. His charismatic leadership emerged early as he became a football star and captain of the local high school team. Seeking adventure, he left Farmingdale to join the Navy, where his physical prowess and skills led him to join the Special Forces. As such, he participated in clandestine missions around the world, though primarily in the Middle East. Wounded in battle, he left the Navy to return to Farmingdale to recover. Regaining his strength and fitness and looking for something to do, he ran for election as sheriff and won easily. Lately, he's been making numerous trips to Washington, D.C., leading some in the town to suspect he never really left government service and may still be involved in black ops. When questioned by a local reporter, though, he simply smiled and said, "Well, there's a congressional election coming up and I am exploring the possibilities." So there he is. Sheriff Brett Hunt. Excellent. With him, we have also got Deputy Schmidt. Law enforcement, toughness 4, gets wounded, his toughness goes down to 2. He has got a movement of 4. His abilities, initiative. Once per action phase, he receives a character action to spend on his unit only. Place the initiative marker on this card to keep track of when you have used this ability. So again, he gets an extra action that he can use, but only him. He's an Eagle Scout. He receives a right shift, so that's a bonus in all hand-to-hand combat. Tough, like the Furies, like Sheriff Brett Hunt. He rolls a die when he's hit. 1 to 3, normal, hit. 4 to 6, hit is cancelled. Martial arts, in every hand-to-hand combat is allowed 1 reroll and that result is final. So they breed him tough in the Farmingdale PD. And they don't take no messing. Again, law enforcement is a versus game, and we're not doing a versus game. Let's flick him over. Deputy Schmidt. Deputy Robert Schmidt was raised in St Thomas, which is one of the little villages just outside Farmingdale that currently have a civilian unit on them, and spent the better part of his youth climbing the local mountains, wandering the forests, and even exploring the old mine. Came as no surprise when he earned his Eagle Scout badge. The wilderness seemed to be his second home. Filled with initiative, he also sought ways to be of service in his community. He became a Big Brother, junior council member, and performed other acts of community service. After graduating high school, he enlisted in the army and became an MP, serving with distinction in Iraq and Afghanistan. When he was honourably discharged, he immediately returned to Farmingdale, where his police experience made him a natural to run for sheriff. He lost that election to Hunt, who quickly hired him as his new deputy and right-hand man. Schmidt conceded that this gave him more time for community projects, teaching martial arts, and for the wanderings that he so enjoys. So there he is, Deputy Schmidt. Starman. And finally, and my favourite, I nearly picked him as my player character, because look at him, Mr. Johnston. Mr. Johnson, he's a scavenger. He's got 3 toughness, and when he gets wounded, he's got 2 toughness. He's got a move of 4. His abilities, stockpiles. When he enters your play, he immediately gains +2 supplies and +3 ammo, including when he's selected during setup. Right, I'm going to stop doing that stupid accent now, but you can see why I liked him. So if you hear me during the playthrough going, Mr. Johnson, you know what's going on. Now, that is very important. The supplies we're not using, as I mentioned right at the beginning, but we are using ammo, so we get +3. Obviously, he's in his cabin, in the woods, making moonshine, and he keeps a lot of ammo about, just in case the feds turn up. So, 1, 2, 3. We did start with 4 in a base game, but because we've got Mr. Johnson, it goes up to 7. So, excellent, because that is our only resource in the base game. And let's get as much as we can. Scavenger. He rolls 2 dice when conducting a forage action. So one of the actions we can do is we can search for stuff and forage. He rolls 2 dice because he's very good at it. Heavy weapons. His gunfire attacks receive a right shift. That's a bonus of 2. So that's excellent. Practical medicine. Now this involves using supplies. So unfortunately, we won't have the benefit of his practical medicine because we're not playing with supplies. However, traps. When a Zeds unit or Zeds mob enters his space, he may roll a die. On a 1 to 3, it's just normal hand-to-hand combat. But if he rolls a 4 to a 6, that Zeds unit or mob takes 1 hit and Johnson can retreat with no damage. That is cool. Yeah? So essentially, all the traps that he's got round his still stand him in good stead against zombies. So this is Mr. Mordecai Johnson. And let's see. Mr. Johnson. Living in a cabin in the Gap west of Lefty's Pass, Mordecai Johnson is a survivalist. Formerly a top analyst for the CIA and Russian cryptologic linguist, he became convinced that the world was on an express elevator to hell. Climate change, peak oil, is that? Jihadists, corporate takeovers, genetic experiments, UFOs, WMDs, the black helicopters, 2012, they all merged in his fertile imagination to turn him into a classic paranoid conspiracy theorist. Having grown up near Farmingdale, he decided to leave the city and settle down in his own personal bunker in the mountains near Old Elkshorn Hunting Lodge. It's still got a still in it. I'm not having it that he hasn't got a still. Trained in practical medicine and well supplied with rations, ammo and extraordinary survival gear, he's ready for anything. His experience at hunting has developed his trapping skills to new levels, and the land around him is always rigged for intruders. Finding the old mine he'd explored as a kid now sealed off with barricades and barbed wire for public safety, the signs say, he's convinced some conspiracy is brewing in his backyard. Most people write him off as a nutcase, but those who know his history wonder if perhaps he might have figured something out the rest of the world is hiding. Even paranoid conspiracy theorists can be right sometimes, and that one time is all it takes. Mordecai! So that's Mr. Johnson, and he's cool. So those are our 4 player characters. There is another player character. He may come into the game, but I'll go through him in more detail should he come into the game. This is Mayor Hernandez. So obviously he's the mayor of the joint. He's got the usual, exactly the same sort of abilities, except his are to do with being mayor. As I say, if he actually enters the game, then we'll have a chat about him. But as it stands at the moment, he is not in the game. But I'll leave him off to one side just in case. Those are our 4 heroes, and they are all here in the town centre. So there you have it. We are all set up to go. I will quickly mention about right shifts and left shifts. Whenever you're doing combat, what will happen is we will look on a matrix table like this. Yeah? You'll be rolling a couple of dice, and it's based on advantage, yeah, which is basically numbers, yeah. So if there are more Zeds, they have the advantage, yeah. If they've got more toughness, which generally means numbers, or if the humans have got an advantage. Now there are various ways to move it left and right, and that's what we call like a left and right shift. As you see, if you start going left, the Zeds are getting more advantage. When the Zeds are getting more of an advantage, you have to roll really high to start doing damage on them. Conversely, If the humans are at the advantage, then they don't have to roll as high to get as good hits. So the more we shove it to the right whenever we have a combat, the better. This is the hand-to-hand table. Some abilities will, like the martial arts ability, for example, shove stuff that way. Yeah. So that's what when I was going through, like the sheriff and the deputy there, their martial arts ability in hand-to-hand will obviously send it that way, as it should. Gunfire. This is Mr. Johnson and Captain Piazza, sorry. They obviously get right shifts for combat, yes. So if you remember, Captain Piazza, she if she's 2 spaces away shooting, she's 4. And as you can see, we'd go down this line here. Further to the left, the harder it is to inflict damage. Further to the right, the easier it is to inflict damage. And that's what we mean by right or left shifts. So we'll see that. It'd be easier to explain when we're actually doing some combat. But I thought I'd just quickly explain what that is, just in case you didn't know. So they've got excellent player aids. There's 4, 1 for each player. Obviously, if you've got a 4-player game, there's a player aid for anybody who's playing the Zed. Like so the versus game, you can play Zeds. So, and on the back there is a key of what everything means. So that's pretty good. Can't see it there because I've got a bit of cardboard here so it stands up a bit better. But that is the player aids. So they are very nice indeed. All the components are very nice except for one. Well, they are nice. I do like them. And it's the dice. Do like them. They're not engraved or anything, but they're well done. And obviously that's a 1 because it's got a zombie on it. The only problem with them, and here's the sort of dice I normally use, where you can see. You can see. These are 16mm dice. These aren't very big at all. Hence, I will be using these. Anybody who's watched my videos for any length of time know how blind I am, so I will need to use these, but I'm using my black ones just to match. As I say, they're good dice, but they're just not big enough for me, man. So I'm gonna have to use these nice big ones so I can see them properly. But everything here, the usual Victory Point games, good stuff. So yeah, it's a bit sooty when you put some of the things out because the laser cut, but yeah, nice, very nice indeed. Right, so I've got everything set up, everywhere. Oh, just show you I've put my player character on an orange stand. As you can see, you just get a nice oval. It's just a nice oval, and like the others, you can just flick them over. Yeah, flick them over when they get wounded. But there we are. Just make it a little easier for everybody to be able to see what is going on when we are playing the game. Right, I think I've mentioned everything. I've moved that up to there. Yes, so we are ready, I think, for our first turn. So, that is the end of the introduction and setup. Thank you very much for watching. Thanks very much for all the subscriptions and for all the views and for all the comments and for all the tactics and tips and whatever. If I've cocked up there and got something wrong, which is quite possible because it is my first game, let's make that clear, it's my first game. So if I've cocked something up there, please let me know, and then I'll know going forwards. I am trying to get it right. Hopefully there won't be many errors, he says, ha 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 ha, but there may well be a few, and I may have made an error there or forgot to mention something. So anything you think that I should have mentioned or have done wrong, please put it in the comments and let everybody know, including me. It'll be extremely helpful, thank you. So yes, so that's it for the introductory and setup episode. I hope you will join me for turn 1 of The Dawn of the Zeds 3rd edition basic game. But until then, this is me, Catweazle, signing off. Toodaloo.